Hey, what's up, people? Welcome to another special episode of The Walking Dead, Season 10, Episode 15, The Tower, over here at the Koalition.com. And if you're on YouTube, there you go, Koalition over at the YouTube. Yeah, we're covering this. It's kind of sad because if you don't know already, now you'll know. This is the last episode for the foreseeable future. They have no date when they're going to begin filming for episode 16, which would technically be the finale of this season. So this is what we have, and it's sad. It's sad only because this is definitely one of those lead up episodes. They're putting all the pieces in place. Everyone's getting into position, and it's like, well, what happens now? So who knows? But before we get to that, I'm your host Adam Vale. I'm joined by Sister Dana. What's up?
Hello, everyone. Excited to be here again. Yay.
There you go, Richard Bailey Jr.
What's up, listeners and viewers? Very much looking forward to continuing talking about The Walking Dead.
Yeah, and that's the sad part because this has been fun, and there goes that. As soon as we started this, fast as it is, boom, done. But hopefully everything comes back. That's all we could hope for. So let's get into this. We get Princess. We talked about this on the last episode. They briefly introduced her. I went into a little back history based off the comics, how big of a role she is, and then how she's a comic relief in a way, but she's a little loopy. She's a loose cannon with certain things, but she's very entertaining. You don't know what's going to come from her, and I'm glad that that's what they brought with the character. It's as if she just popped right off the comic, right out of the comic sheets, I should say. It was awesome. That little back and forth of like, wow, I've been alone for a year. Are you guys really here in front of me? Maybe you're not. And asking questions. Oh, they answered it. Oh, well, maybe I already knew that and didn't remember I knew that. You know, pretty cool. It's funny. It's comical. And some people may say, oh, come on now. That doesn't make any sense. It's like, why is she like this? It's like, well, she could be crazy. She sort of, and we'll go into it, she sort of explains that she's always had a loopiness. She's always been regarded as something going on, and she was never sure if it was her or it was them. So there was already something going on, but she's clearly a survivor, right? She's been here a year by herself. She has weapons, and then we'll learn more about her as it goes on. But it was definitely a fun back and forth exchange she had with the group, with Eugene and Yumika, and with King Ezekiel. And I'm gonna keep calling him King then because later on, Eugene refers to him as King.
Yeah.
He calls him. He says, "I'm gonna go and listen to the king." That's the king. So I'm like, yeah, right. That's right. May not have a kingdom, but he's still a king. All right. So Dana, what did you think of this little exchange that with the introduction of Princess?
Here's the thing. They gave it was so sudden that I thought I was literally in the middle of an episode.
Oh yeah. It just spits you in. It just spits you in.
It spits you in so much that I was like, I don't understand what's going on, but this girl is really captivating. And the way how she delivered everything
Oh yeah.
was hilarious. She has so much personality, and this is the one who created the town with all of the walkers and all these different situations. So you clearly know that she has been there for way too long, and after a while, she's slowly starting to just crack. And this, she went back and forth with whether or not to shoot them, and then when she went after, there was a scene with the walkers that came, and then the poor horses, and it went on, but it was still entertaining. Like, I felt that in probably in another actress's hands, that could have just felt like it was just getting boring after a while, but she really, really made it work, and it immediately drew me in. I just, again, kind of felt that I was just thrown in, but I liked it.
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. Her name is Paula Lazaro.
Well, she's
So
a great actress.
yeah. So I'm gonna dig in a little more later on to find out, see what she's been working on. But she definitely delivered.
Oh,
And
she
to,
oh, sorry.
no, keep going.
No, she also kind of gave off the kind of personality where you don't know if she will kill you at any moment
Yeah,
or
yeah.
if she wants to be your friend.
According to some info here, it looks like she was part of that short-run Lethal Weapon TV series.
Oh,
So
I
yeah,
remember.
yeah, exactly. I don't think anyone watched that. I tried. I think I watched the first episode because I was like, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, and then I doubted it, and then I walked away. I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done. So what about you, Rich? What did you think of the introduction of Princess to Walking Dead?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this was an excellent character piece episode for her, just to introduce everybody to her that may not be familiar with her from the comic book. I would say, yes, actress did a phenomenal job. And what I like about the character is, I think in this episode, you got to learn a lot about the character. Not only did you know that she's funny, she's loopy, but also that she has insecurities. That's why I think they did a good job, because by the end of this episode, not only do you care about the character, but you know a lot about that character, and you have an idea as to how that character's insecurities can play into the storyline moving forward. Mm-hmm. So I think they did a very good job with making her the focal point of the episode. So I would say, yeah, anyone that saw the comics and enjoyed the character, I think they will absolutely love this actress's adaptation of the same character.
Oh, and Dana, you watched that Wu-Tang series, remember? That
yes.
Wu-Tang one? She was in that. She's credited in that as well.
Oh, she's very talented.
Yeah, so she's doing stuff. But if she does an amazing job here, I think this will be her most notable role, at least up to currently what's going on in her career. Because this is a big part. This is a big part. Don't know how far they're going to go with this, regardless of meaning the series itself. But I know that she plays a major part in the comics all the way to the end. So.
I kind of wish that she would have been introduced earlier, just so, because right now we know that the show is ending. And I would have liked or appreciated some kind of a longer arc. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with this series, how many episodes they plan on doing, or what's going on, if we'll even get it.
Yeah, that's... Well, when I saw that they were going to introduce her, when we saw at the end of last episode, I figured they were going to go into more in depth of her character for this episode. Now, in the comics, there's a lot more that happens in the city before they leave. It doesn't look like that's the direction they're going with this. It looks like, all right, we met her and we're working things out, and then poof, we're going to move on and leave the city area. And it could be for a bunch of reasons. Who knows? Maybe the time period that they have, the amount of time they had to film in the streets of that area. Who knows? Or maybe they just decided to go another direction. But there's a lot more that happens, and I'd like to see if they go in that direction, so I don't want to try to spoil it or anything. But yeah, I agree. It was great. I enjoyed it. I like her character. I like how they portrayed her, very much like the comic, and that's a good thing. Sometimes it's not a good thing. Sometimes you want, that character was kind of dull, and we'd like to see some growth and throw a little twist to the development of that character. But nope, that's not the case here. Entertaining in the comics, entertaining on the show. All right, so then from there, we get twisted over to Beta, who's full-blown crazy now. Just crazy. Got the alpha mask underneath his mask. He's hearing voices in his head. I'm assuming that has to deal with it's either himself talking to himself, like one of those type of things, like when you have like the good and the bad on your shoulders, or it could be his friend that had died when Alpha first found him, and he was there alone, and he had his buddy that was dead, and the whole thing. So. Maybe that's something, maybe that's what's going on. But he's definitely hearing voices, and he's a little lost. But he has a massive horde. He has some of the Whisperers with him, and he's looking to hunt these people down, the ones that killed Alpha. And it looks like they're going to Oceanside. Right? So, What did you guys think? What about you, Rich? What did you think of that scene of now we got a clear view. We see he's wearing Alpha's mask under his mask. He's hearing voices. What do you think's going on with this?
Well, I think we definitely knew the character was going to go crazy. We saw that in the last episode. So, for that to come full circle now, it makes sense. I did see the part where he had the little interaction with the Whisperer, and the Whisperer mentioned Alpha again, and he almost lost it. So I don't think that he likes anyone to refer to him as Alpha, per se. He still wants to be known as Beta. Mm-hmm. So I did because obviously he didn't lose it like he did the last episode. But this is the direction that it made sense for this to happen, because again, as we know with The Walking Dead, whenever the people who are perceived to be the heroes do something to another faction, well, they have to now suffer the consequences. Like, take, for example, when we go back to the Michonne episode that we saw a couple weeks ago, and even though we all agree it was a bad episode, it did give the flashback of when they went to that camp and they took out some of Negan's people. And then as a result of that, obviously we saw what happened to Glenn and I can't think of the other guy's name.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Oh my, you're right. Oh.
Yeah, I can't think of the name.
No, not.
But I mean, it's all right.
Oh,
it's
and he smashed his head, and he was a curveball in it because that's not how he died. He eventually did die in the comics, but that is not how he died. Oh man, and I met him at a Comic-Con too. Oh.
Well, no, it will definitely come back to me, but yeah, just like pretty much what I'm saying is the concept is, so they took out Alpha got beheaded. So we already know that they will be held to pay for that reason. So I enjoy the buildup of seeing now this massive horde is heading towards Oceanside, but I do not like the fact that we now have to wait until and indefinitely wait until the show returns, because I have no idea when it's returning. It is going to obviously return this year, I would assume, but no date for right now, so that's a little annoying.
Well, here's a quick question for you and Dana, whoever wants to answer this, if you have a good answer for it, because we sort of talked about this before the show started. We get that glimpse up on the tower area that Aaron and Alden are peeking, and they're up there, and they could see Beta and his massive horde, and just, how did they get up there? I don't remember them scouting out there. How did they know?
That is a phenomenal question. It's on the same level of the question that I have to ask. Well, how did the group that is currently at this hospital in Oceanside, how did this group go? We didn't find out about why they went to that location or how they got to that location, because the previous episode they were clearly at a different place than they were in this episode.
Yeah, with all the kids and when they did their reuniting and all that. Yeah, it's definitely a different location.
Yeah, so I didn't really understand that. I guess there's some time may have passed, and Aaron and Alden, they just been really going ham looking for. We got to find out where Beta is, so on and so forth. But yeah, there was no explanation for that. But I personally think, you'll get into it later, they did that so that now you find out at the end of the episode, well, now these two characters are in trouble. And I figured that was going to happen because I'm like, when they had the scene where Alden looked out and you saw Beta turn his head back, and then, like, I'm pretty sure I thought to myself, I'm pretty sure Beta saw him, but they let it play out, and then now they're like, wait, hold on, now we see these people, we got them. So my only thought is that they just placed them there so that you can put these characters in peril, and the people who are obviously fans of both of these characters, now they're going to be worried until they find out what happens to these guys in the next episode.
Yeah. I agree. I thought when Beta sort of had this, I guess, feeling, and he looked up, and then that's just when Alden turned his head, and then they were sort of like mouthing off, like, they're down there, and we're going to flank on the side. And even when Beta looked over at his whispers, and he's like, walk with me this way. He said something to that effect. It's like, I was like, oh, this is it. He knows they're there. They're going to set things. And you know what? Maybe he did. Maybe we'll get to that, because now that I think about it, I think there could be another end. So from that point, we get thrown in sort of back to what you were talking about, that group where everyone is all hanging out. And that's where Lydia is. And she's there with a cat. And, you see everyone hanging out. And Negan's there. And no one's bringing up the whole issue with Negan. I thought there was going to be a lot of back and forth of like, hey, what the hell happened? And blah, blah, blah. There was none of that, So eventually Negan walks up to Lydia, and they have a little connection there, trying to figure out what's going on. He feels that there's definitely some issues that she has to clear up, that she's not grieving properly. And there's, people grieve in different ways, but he feels she's not doing it correctly. So there's that whole thing going on. And then they cut away from that. I was like, all right, then we get another scene where Daryl is just doing the rounds, and this is a somewhat of an important scene because he's scouting the area, and we're assuming he knows he's protecting this area that we're not too sure of where they are, right? Because that's definitely, you said before it was Oceanside. It didn't look like Oceanside though, but we know that Beta's going to Oceanside.
Yeah. So I mean, it could be a stopgap in between. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, we do know that they're heading to Oceanside.
Maybe there's just a lot of rough cuts. Maybe that's what's going on here, because the more I think about it, and the timing and the placement, there's a lot of holes. So it's got to be something going on with the editing, because and for example, like, even right now, even before that part, if I remember right, Judith also walked up to Lydia and started talking about her, and they had a little conversation about mom. Oh, I'm sorry about your mom. To Lydia, and Lydia was like, "Oh, well, not everybody's lucky to have the mom that you have, that type of thing." But then we have the Negan thing. But then shortly after, we cut to back to my point was with Daryl walking, and he's talking on the walkie-talkie to Michonne, or at least he's just sending messages out to Michonne.
Yeah,
which is a big deal, because it's like, well, how does this whole time? So she never, Judith still didn't tell Daryl. Oh, by the way, I talked to mom and. What was that, Rich?
Oh no, go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish first.
Yeah, because I was assuming, I was like, well, at this point, when you're all together ready, that's when you tell me, hey, I had a conversation with mom. She was never going to tell Daryl that, oh, I talked to mom. Oh, but she's not coming back. She's going to go look for dad. And then eventually, when she does pop up there, just wandering out in the woods, killing a walker, and he's like, what are you doing here? It's like, oh, it smells like cat pee back at the place. And and then that's when she reveals, oh, well, I did talk to mom, and she's helping people right now, and I didn't tell you because I was scared you would leave too. That was a horrible reason. That was a horrible reason. Like, that right there was like, oh, come on, I know you probably had another take with different dialogue. Anything would have been better than that, for a reason.
See, I agree 100%. I just want to make a quick comment, and then we're gonna. Then you got to get Dana's opinion on the herd, etc. I just want to say I do agree with everything you said about the editing. It feels like there are some pieces of the story missing, and just like you said about the whole thing with Negan, we never saw a scene of how the group reacted to Negan after what happened, but yet Negan is going to Lydia saying you should grieve for your mom, all this other stuff. It's like that doesn't make any sense because it was a big deal that Negan. I mean, he had basically when they did that attack a couple episodes ago, and Aaron saw him. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a pretty big moment right there. That means that there are people that obviously don't like Negan. So for them not to address that and for you to see that play out on the screen, I do think that is a problem. So I agree 100% what you say about the editing. That's something that they definitely should have made time to shoot to better explain why everybody is cool with Negan right now.
It's weird. Like maybe the editing was done where they said, all right, we have some scenes that we can cut in from the finale and let's splice that in here. I don't know. Something about it didn't feel right. But Dana, what's your thoughts on all this? The whole way they tried to explain with Judith and being cool with her mom leaving and telling the story of the version that she picked up and telling that to Daryl. That made sense for you? Oh, Dana, are you muted? Oh, I don't know. I think Dana's muted.
Oh,
but we'll keep going with this.
I will say one other quick comment about the Judith thing. I do agree that was a horrible reason, and I actually thought. I mean, she didn't even tell him the whole thing. She didn't. I was waiting for her to say.
Yeah, about the etching, and then, this is why she's going in that direction, because she found proof that dad is alive.
Exactly. I was waiting for her to say that, and then I was like, well, okay, they didn't say it. But that could mean that could come up later, because I feel like sooner or later, the other people are going to find out that Rick is still alive. I think Daryl should find that out anyway, but it kind of feels that was a teaser to perhaps set that up later where she does reveal that information, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out.
Yeah, there was a few other scenes that sort of went in weird directions. Like when Carol went off to go find supplies, she was also in with that group, and she volunteered to go find some supplies that they needed. And she had that one-on-one conversation with I'm blanking on her name.
I think it's Kate.
Kate, yes, Kate.
Yeah.
And then just explaining the hardships, and Kate explaining the hardships and what she would consider the fact that she's deaf, and she was like, "Hey, I was told to see it as a superpower," and giving this this very emotional speech to Carol. And I'm like, does Carol need this? I mean, what is going on with this? That whole thing I didn't understand. I felt like it was setting up. I was like, well, clearly you're in this car, you're trying to gain supplies, doing whatever you need, and there's an emotional part. Something tragic is going to happen to one or both of these characters. Nothing happened.
Well, I do think eventually, I do think if it comes to a standoff between this group and the Whisperers, all out war as it was in the comics, I do see them killing Carol off the show. If that's the direction they want to go. But one comment I do want to make is, once again, as you said earlier, it appears to me that they take time to really emphasize like some of these relationships that I guess they want you to care about. Like, Carol wants to be forgiven for what happened. And, Negan wants to get Lydia to feel some sympathy towards her mother. But once again, where is the scene where Negan has his interaction with the group, and the group, it feels like that's important, but they said, no, we're not going to focus on that. So,
or at least with Carol explaining the situation, she could just say, "But they call, so you knew about it?" Yeah, I knew about it. I didn't want to get everybody involved. It could be very quick.
Exactly.
It could be very quick, but at least point it out. And it's just leaving it up for us, the viewers, to fill that blank. Like, well, I guess they work things out.
Exactly. I don't like that, especially when you mention what happened with Carol having that conversation in this same episode, and Negan has his little heart-to-heart with Lydia, etc. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It feels like that should have been addressed, but It is what it is. Well, I guess if Aaron survives, then that will then they'll have to address it, because Aaron is not a fan of Negan.
Yeah. So then we head back over to where Princess is with Eugene and King and Yumika. And during that first introduction, she wound up shooting some walkers, proving that she knows how to use her weapon, which spooks the horses that they were riding on. Horses go running off. So now in this scene, she's like, "Hey, I have other forms of transportation I can take you to. It's in a garage. Just follow me." And it turns out that she's walking them through a minefield, right? Which was fun. And I'm like, okay. And she's counting and she's doing the whole thing. She's like, all right, I gotta backtrack. And and then they distract her. I forgot. I think Yumika asked a question and basically threw her count off. So she didn't know how many steps she was from the walking out of this minefield. I found that fun and entertaining until I realized afterwards we're like 3 segments. They popped up 3 different takes that we come back and they're in the same spot, and I couldn't understand that, because I get that you're trying to. They're still iffy. Each character, Eugene, Yumika, and Ezekiel, are different versions of the viewer. You have some that are all for it, like, giving her benefit of the doubt. That's the king, right? It's always going to be us. It's like, hey, why not? You got Yumika, who's like, no, she's batshit crazy. Don't trust it at all. And then you got the Eugene, who's like, I don't know, but we're sort of stuck in this situation, so there's nothing we can do. So that's for the viewers, because that's going to be the majority of the views right there, right? Some are going to be all for it, some are going to be against it, some are going to be on the fence. So it's interesting that this is the approach they went with it, and I had fun with it for the first segment of it. But then we go back, and they're still there, and it's still spotted, and she's like, I don't know which way to go, and she throws a canteen, and it hits a mine. She's like, anybody else have another canteen? All right, cut. We're going to come back to it. No, we go somewhere else, and it comes back. And then they're still standing there. I was like, what are we doing? She's still mumbling. It's like, oh, wait, I'm doing. And then she like does an eeny, meeny, miny, mo type thing, picks a path. She walks through. She's like, hey, this was the way we go. And then they give her a long speech. Everyone starts complaining. But Eugene, that's when Princess gets into her speech saying, hey, I had some social issues. I thought it was just what was happening now, but it looks like it's always been there. I've had bad relationships in the past where I've lied about certain things, and I'm not good with this sort of type of thing, dealing with people. She gives a speech, but then it's something that Eugene can relate to, because if you recall all the way back when they first found him, he said he was a doctor, and he said he knew where the cure was and all that stuff, remember? And he was all BSing. It was all BS. He is a smart guy, but he was lying all about a lot of things. So he sort of related with Princess on this, and they had a bonding moment. And he's like, hey, as long as you're not lying about the end goal of this, which is, you said there's transport in a garage, and sure enough there is. So that, I don't know, that whole scene, I enjoyed it, but I just felt that it was too long, and it felt like filler. It felt like filler when this, again, they probably, at the time, they didn't know. No one knew we were going to have this situation, this global issue that we're having. And it definitely is an episode to set up for a big finale. Mm-hmm. But it just said a lot of filler. So what did you get from that whole interaction with Eugene and Princess and the mine? You enjoyed it?
I definitely like that they made the connection between Eugene's backstory and of course Princess's story as well. But I agree 100% with what you said. This is definitely filler, because there have been Walking Dead seasons in the past where the episode before the last episode, something major happens, like a character dies or something major happens, and it makes you wonder, well, wow, if they did that in the episode before, what are they going to do in the finale? But obviously, they just wanted to slowly build up to what's going to happen in the finale, and of course, because we don't have a release date as to when that's coming out, that's going to make it just a very annoying wait to see what happens. Yeah. But I do like that they did have the dynamic of her getting comfortable with the group. I believe, as you said earlier, that's supposed to take a longer period of time. I do wish that it took a little bit more time to get to that point instead of all rushing it all in one episode. Now all of a sudden we trust this person. We're willing to work with them. I felt that could have been, held on a little bit longer, but I'm totally fine if they have a bigger focus end goal in mind. But yeah, it definitely was a lot of filler with all those scenes. So that was a bit disappointing, I have to say.
Yeah, it might as well just close out her piece in this episode, because they only cut back one more time where they go to the garage. She opens up. There's a bunch of bicycles there and stuff. And like, oh, what is it? Hey, it's transport. There's a way. And then Yumika then walks over, and she now, like you said, she trusts her, and it's like, hey, you want to come along? You want to be part of the group? She's thrilled by it. And then she says, hey, but can we go and pick up some of my belongings? I have some other things I want to pick up, and one of them is a spear. That spear is key, and that's what I was really looking forward to at this point. I was like, oh, all right, we're going to see. There's a little thing that happens leading up to that, but when she gets a spear, she is a badass with it. Almost like on the point of like Morgan type, Fear the Walking Dead type badass with this thing. And I was hoping to see some of that, so then that way for the viewers, they were like, oh, wow, she's not just a little loopy. She can fight. She's going to help them. Yeah. This is key. She's going to be a valuable character, just not this comic relief side crazy loop-de-loop that's part of them. And we didn't get that. And that sucks, because then that means that's going to be put in the finale. But then I don't think it's going to be a big part of it, because the finale, as we get to, there's going to be a lot going on. Yeah. And what I'm talking about with that's still character building. That's still introducing the character, explaining, hey, this is what she is, this is what she can do. She even said there's more weapons. She knows where there's more weapons. There's a lot. And I feel that's too much to get crammed into a finale. That stuff should have been done in this episode. And they could have cut the whole the landmine scene out, or at least shortened it where, all right, within one take, it's like, hey, we walk through, oh, I'm not sure, wait, all right, no, it's this way, okay. And then while they're walking, the three could have their little conversations of thinking if she's crazy, should they follow her, or they regret it. And then that's it. Then poof, move on to something else. Next time we cut back, instead of them back at the landmine, they're over in the garage doing the bike scene. Then we'll cut back to the beta and situation, and then when we switch back, that's when she's now going to go get her gear and weapons, and then some crazy conflict happens, and then they see her with her spear going buck wild. And then they're like, oh, wow, okay, yeah, you're with us. You know, that's what I wanted, and that's what I was hoping for, and I didn't like the way it ended. But anyway, that's it for her part. That's it for that group. The last scene for them is she's telling them, "Hey, let's just go get my supplies, you know, and my spear." All right, so then now we'll flip over to where Beta. Now this group, this zombie horde that he has, it's massive. I mean, this is larger. At least the way they're portraying it, this looks larger than when there was the wolves. Remember when the wolves a few seasons back did the invasion on Alexandria, and they showed like that far shot, and you see like a massive horde that was heading over to Alexandria. This is like 2 times that size. You know, it's like for the close-up shots, obviously we don't see all that, but when they do these far shots, it looks like blocks and blocks and blocks. So he's got a massive group. And it looks like he's going to Oceanside. That's what he says. And at the same time, we have Aaron and Alden. They're tracking them, and they're keeping their distance. But obviously, this is why I'm thinking that Beta did see them up on that tower. Mm-hmm. Because then, obviously, he had some of his whispers stay back. So then that way it builds that space where it's like, all right, you think that you're following right behind Beta and the crew, but really there's his other henchmen that are further back that are now following you because they were waiting for you, you know, to start following, to come down from your tower. So the last scene for them is they're surrounded and there's guns, which was something that I don't recall ever seeing with the Whispers, that they had guns. Right? Do you recall them use that? I don't remember them using guns. But the last scene is a gun. You don't see who's holding the gun, but you see a gun pointing, and then you see the rest of the Whispers surrounding them.
Well, didn't they say before that there are still some saviors, some saviors around?
Yes. Now that they didn't say that. Did they say that in this episode?
Well, no. I think they didn't say it in this episode, but I think somebody alluded to that. To say, I think you said it.
I said that. Yeah, no, because in the comic there is, and even in the season, in the last season with Rick when he was still alive, he would go and he would visit the Saviors. They had their own crew. They were free. They had their own leader that was handling things. They're not obviously under Negan rule, and they were just one of the groups, one of the communities. But they were separate. They haven't visited them. They haven't gone back. So yeah, maybe this is it. You're right. Maybe this is not part of the Whispers. Maybe this is that group. Because it was very interesting that they put that shot where you just see the gun in a hand.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So who's behind the gun? Yeah, we'll find out. Right? Dun, dun, dun. Maybe it is that. And if it is that opens up a whole other can of worms, because that gets very interesting. And if they do go down that road. So there goes that part, and then I'm trying to think if there was anything really notable, because again, there was a lot of dialogue going back and forth, but nothing really everything was set pieces, nothing really happening. It was a lot of setting up, you know. And then the next scene after that, we see Beta with the Horde standing in front of the gate of the hospital, because Gabriel. Oh, I did forget one part, but then again, I didn't. It was the same part that we were talking about with Daryl and Judith, and during their little conversation in the woods, they do find a Whisperer who's injured. Mm-hmm. And while this Daryl's questioning and saying, "All right, where is everybody? What's going on?" It's like, "Oh, they're going over the ocean side, and you know, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening." And then he just kills her. And Judith, this is the other part I don't get. She's been a badass since we've been introduced to this version of her from the time jump. And now she's like, well, why did you just leave her in a ditch? You could have had a family. Really? She's been walking around with these skinwalkers. Come on now. You saw what they did to Henry. You saw what they did to everybody else. Now you feel sympathy? Come on now.
Well, I do agree that is confusing, but I guess this is them continuing her transformation to try and understand whether or not it's okay to kill someone who is not a walker and just a human person. Because you recall the episode before this when when she had to kill the guy who was taking care of them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the reaction to that was like, you knew that this guy had turned, but you saw him, before that. So I guess they're showing the character is struggling with that.
Was she? Because she was just injured, or was she bit? I think she was just injured.
Yeah, she was injured,
She was
and then
injured.
and then when she didn't provide any helpful information, Daryl just said, "Okay, that's it. Just cold blooded, just shoot her in the head."
That was it. That was murder. That was and take the arrow back. Yeah.
Yep.
So that was definitely cold blooded. And maybe she's having issues with it, but at the same time, she knows that these are bad people. She even the
Yeah.
whole reason of her wanting to go out there, and then she says she was like, "I want to help. I don't," because he was like, "Go back." She's like, "No, I want to help. I want to do what you're doing." And all right, well, this is what he does. This is it.
Yes.
This is part of the job. So she can't question it because let's say if she was out there alone, which there's no way a little girl like that is going to be out there. But she's like 12, I think. I think
Yeah.
11, 12. Like, there's no way that 11 or 12-year-old should be out there. And let's say it was her that encountered this injured Whisper. Is she just going to buy it and believe it's like, oh, okay, you're okay. She had a knife in her hand and she threw it away. It's like, oh, all right, fine, no weapon. You still going to trust this person? Come on now. And then what, you're going to bring them back to your big... No. So she still has a lot of growing up to do. And I don't like that because the way they've been portraying her is that she has grown up in this crazy world. She knows the BS that's going on. She sees it. So that she should be pretty much cold-blooded.
Yeah.
There is no right or wrong. She knows what's right is to protect her people. That much she does know. So to say, oh, wow, she's hurt and, yeah, she was part of the bad group, but there's no but. There's no but. You can't trust these people. So they go wandering off because now they're like, all right, well, we got to find out what's going on. And then he gets a radio call and it's breaking up and it's Gabriel. All right. And he's like, you have to come back. You have to come back. But right before that scene, and I sort of blacked it out because I forgot that's right. They had one more scene and it was Lydia and Negan. And she then approaches him again about like, why do you want me to forget my mom? And stuff. He's like, no, you just need a proper way to grieve. Again, they do this touchy-feely moment between them. And I get it where the whole thing with Negan and what I was getting from this is we know his connection or how he feels about kids, right? Very protective.
Yeah.
Him and his wife, they always wanted to have kids, but she got sick, the whole thing. Didn't happen. So he doesn't mention the fact, like, hey, I killed your mom. Yeah, she was a bad person. He does say she had some things he did like her, but he could have said the main reason why I did kill her, though, is because she still wanted to go forward with killing you.
Yeah.
Because that was the turning point. Because he kept saying, remember in the last video, do you really want to kill her? Because I think if she would have said, no, I just don't like those people, hell, he might have just stayed. And he sort of hinted that when he had that one-on-one with Daryl last episode. Remember? He was like, I'm not going to lie, I sort of liked it. Because he knew he would have been the right-hand man. Beta would have just been the soldier, but he would have been the right-hand man. So I'm surprised, again, with the editing. I'm sure they had that dialogue, that scene written in. It was like, hey, you're upset. You could be upset at me. What happened? But there was other factors to it. She was persistent on wanting to kill you. Yeah, and then that I couldn't deal with it. But instead, the way they were trying to portray it is like, no, you need time to grieve for your mom. Yeah, she was evil, but no, you need to grieve. And if you want, and that's what Negan was saying, if you want, you can hit me. You can come and hit me, get that out. You can't let it eat you up inside. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I'm trying to recall if I know they didn't show it. But if they ever hinted that was going on. Because in the comic, Alpha was pimping out Lydia. That was how she kept the guys in the group under control. And that she stayed the alpha because she felt that she kept saying that they're just like animals, which she kept saying in this. We're just like animals, we walk around, we're just like animals, we're not humans anymore. And animals, her thing with it, they just have sex. They just do things. They don't establish relationships. They just feel the sexual urge and then they move on. So she had some of the girls in the group, including her own daughter, fulfilling the urge for the men in the group. Yes. And now it's another thing, and that is another reason why, in the comic, with Carl wanting to save her and not let her go back to the group because of that, because she was pimping out the daughter. And then Negan knew this. That was the other thing in it. Well, now, that never comes up. I don't think they ever mentioned that part, if that happened. I know she had told Henry that some bad things had happened to her there in the group.
Yeah.
But they didn't go into that. And then even if they did, that was just between Henry. I don't think Negan knew that. But still, she knows this if that happened. So then she could have said, no, I'm not going to grieve for her because she was a horrible person. I know she wanted to kill me. I know she didn't care about me for all the things she did. You know, it's just very complicated. A lot of the back and forth, and even in the comic, it was a little complicated with all that because even at the end, and we saw it here, it's like when with Lydia staying with the group, just keep her, just keep her. But then there's still all these issues. Whatever. This scene, I didn't like it. I did not like it. I didn't like the fact she gets all emotional, whole thing, starts crying, starts hitting him and stuff like that. It's like, for as long as she's known her mom, because remember she was much younger when all this stuff happened, and she grew up, her mom has been horrible. Her mom has been this alpha, this brainwasher, this cult leader.
Oh yeah.
She knew this even before. And Henry, what about Henry? She chopped off your boyfriend's head.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, grieve, really? You're gonna grieve? She was a horrible person. So this scene didn't, because it again, pulling on the heartstrings of what? For her, not for the viewers. I didn't feel emotional. I didn't think, oh wow, she's crying. Her mom, yeah, that's sad. Her mom died. I feel it too. I would cry if my mom died. If my mom was as evil as she was, no, I would not. I would not cry. I wouldn't do it. And then Negan, of all people, playing that role up, it's like, no, come on now. He was Negan, we are Negan. You do what you gotta do to survive, shit happens. Remember? Oh, shit happens. Oh, that's how these things happen. So he could have said the same thing. Where is that, Negan? What? That dialogue should have just been real quick. Should have been like, hey, yeah, I killed her. Sort of liked it, but, we had some sex or whatever. It was fun. But she was crazy, and she wanted to kill you. And I just couldn't have that. So I had to put her down. All right, so you want to go get something to eat? That's the Negan that I know. And that's the Negan that they've been portraying until this point. Because even with the Daryl thing, he was honest. He was like, yeah, I sort of liked it. I could have... whatever.
I think the Negan character has lost a lot from ever since he was captured. It just feels like the character has lost. So you start to see the character got a little bit of redemption back this season, but I don't think he's going to ever be the same Negan that we remember from when he was first introduced. He is a little bit older. Looks a little bit more frail than he looked when he first appeared.
Yeah.
And I guess that is again because the time has passed, so he's a lot older. So I guess, but yeah, I do agree. I was also not really a fan of that scene. But I guess they wanted to establish since, Lydia, kind of, pretty much was on good terms with Negan, but then you had that episode where Negan grabbed her and used her to, tie her up. So I guess they wanted to fix that relationship. But once again...
She didn't complain about that. She didn't even bring that up. You used me as bait. Blah, 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 blah. None of that. So then again, we're assuming, was that the plan? Did he tell her, hey, I'm going to tie you up here. I'm going to lure your mom here, do this whole thing. But then again, as we know, that wasn't even the same cabin. So that wasn't even a plan. I don't... there was a lot of holes. There's a lot of holes in this story and what was going forward. So there goes that. The end of that scene is just them embracing pretty much, right? He was hugging her back. Yeah. She was crying. Done. So then back to Daryl and Judith in the woods on the walkie-talkie. Here, Gabriel, it's breaking up. You need to come back. And then that's when we get this massive scene with Beta, some of the whispers in front, and it looks just like a sea of walkers. It's a massive group of walkers. He's still hearing all these voices in his head. He's definitely losing it. And now they're at the gate, pretty much, of this compound, this hospital. It doesn't look like Oceanside. It definitely doesn't look like Alexandria. I'm baffled with this. I don't know. I'm sure somebody who's gonna listen to it like, I know what this is. Oh, that's great, because this pissed me off. Because I'm like, where are they? What? But like you mentioned, it looks like the hospital, from the earlier seasons.
Yes,
but
the same set.
Yeah, it's clearly the same set. But regardless, it looks like that shit's about to go down. So that's where it ends. And that sucks, because now we're in limbo because we don't know when they're going to start going back into production for the final episode, and it might not happen because a lot of these actors have other responsibilities, and not only the actors but the crews involved. Everybody has things lined up. These are all contract workers, and anybody who's ever been a contract worker knows you try to line up as many gigs as you can throughout the year. You don't say no, you just say when. So that way things can, you have a steady income.
Well,
and yeah.
That's one thing I am confused, because I thought that with this last episode, I guess it's the post-production stuff that has to get done. I don't know if I believe they already shot it, I guess, but they have other stuff to do. So I'm a little confused with the explanation they gave.
Maybe it's post. It could be post. I've heard from other shows, showrunners and producers that are working on other shows, that they've been doing post from home. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. Not everybody has the equipment, and then there's other things that you have to share files, and there's other methods of doing it. It's not perfect. It's not ideal with those type of situations, because it's better to do as a group, so that you could just correspond back and forth. It's like, hey, what do you think of this? Is this good? Okay. So if that's the case, it may take a little longer, but they didn't even give a date. And that's why it's like, I don't know if that's the case, because if that's the case, you say, all right, how long do you think it'll take? I don't know, maybe a week or two. All right, so let's say by the end of April, and then we could just say, hey, this is coming. There was no date at all. So who knows? Who knows when that's going to happen? Or maybe what they might do is just have this this could be the last episode of this season, and the official finale, whenever they do get back into whether post or actually filming it, that rolls over into next season.
Yeah. I think they did say that it's going to be like a one-off special episode. So I would hope that the finale is going to be extended time, and not just a regular 60 minute episode. But I don't know what they're going to do, but I mean, obviously with that other Walking Dead show, they did say that show was coming later this year. Yeah. So I think everything else is still going to move forward, but with this particular show here, it's going to probably be a little while before we hear some more information. Maybe a month from now, maybe 2 months, but it's probably going to be a little bit of a wait.
Yeah, man, that sucks. I mean, the whole situation, everything we're all going through sucks. But this is it, and they're not going to be the only show. There's a bunch of other shows going through the same thing, where their last episodes, or it's for some of them, they were still filming, and production just has to stop altogether, and they may never come back. There's some shows right now that they're talking about that have major stars, and there are talks of like, oh, there's no way we can get these stars to come back within that time frame to finish up these episodes. They're already off to go do movies, but then again, those movies might not even begin filming because of what's happening. So it's a mess. Everything is a mess. Everything is up in the air. But all we know is that this is what we have, and this is what we could say, I guess, is the season finale. And it doesn't. It feels empty. It's only because we see all these set pieces. We see the set pieces with Princess and the group. Now they're finally going to get to meet the contact for Eugene, and then we see what's going on with Beta. Now he has a full army getting ready. They're clearly not prepared for this, meaning the rest of the group, Daryl's group, I was about to say Rick's group or Michonne's group, both of them are not there. So there goes that. Now, there goes that for the episode, but you had some other info on this. You said you knew something going on with Michonne?
Well, there's two things. Before I get to the Michonne thing, I just want to make a comment. I'm not criticizing the work of Angela Kang. She's been doing an excellent job running the show. Mm-hmm. But I just have to say, for this episode titled The Tower, I was expecting something significant to happen
with the tower.
Yes, with the tower. Because as we spoke before we started recording, and you would know this better than I do, but there's a very gruesome death scene that happens related to a tower, and it has to do with, in the comic, when Gabriel sees a horde coming, tries to go down to warn the others, and then breaks his leg and gets stuck hanging on the on the actual steps, and then that's when Beta comes in. And so I thought they were going to end the episode with that, and of course I think that would have been excellent, because then it's even more tension, because okay, they killed, like you could have had a shot of we killed Gabriel, and now we're advancing further into the territory. That would have been a great way to end the episode, because people coming back, they're going to be like, oh, well, it obviously would have made the wait even more painful. But
you see, and that's why I feel it was some weird cuts, because maybe that was the plan. Obviously the episode was misleading, calling it the tower, because if you're, like you said, if you know the comics and that's what you're thinking, and then even with the call coming in all broken up, it could have been already of him hanging upside down and it was breaking up, and it's like I messed up, but we don't see any of that, and it could have been that they just never filmed it.
That's true.
And so who knows? We're assuming that the last episode wasn't done. Maybe this one wasn't complete. And they said, all right, what do we have? Well, we have these scenes. All right, then just let's cut this up. Let's put this together, and let's get this out. So at least
they said that they had to reconfigure, and now this is going to be the finale.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what happened then.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened. Because that's the thing. I mean, we had no scenes of the actual tower. So we don't even know if he's there on the tower. I mean, that was the other thing I had asked you. You said you saw him with the group. I didn't see him in this episode, but you said he was in that group when they showed the shot with Negan and everybody, that he was there.
Yeah, when they showed the scene where you see Judith when she's having her little quick conversation with Lydia, and they show people in the actual location. Yeah, they did show the back of his head, so I know he is there. But again, no explanation as to. Yeah.
So we didn't see him get to the tower. We didn't see him do the scouting, so that way he could see from above what's happening. He did, and that's
because he was talking to the other lady and said, "Okay, now it's your turn to do the tower watch." So, yeah, that's why I thought you were going to come back to that later, when you were going to show him on the tower watch, and then that unfortunate incident happens, but. We didn't get to see that, so as Dana mentioned, yes, they reconfigured the episode. Maybe we'll see that in the next episode, I guess.
Yeah. So, what did you think of this episode, Dana?
Well, for me, Princess made the episode. Other than that, it was just a okay episode. I mean, there were interesting parts, especially with the whole Horde situation and not knowing what's happening, and then how the way it ended, where you kind of see at the hospital. But for me, it was very princess driven and heavy. I really like that. Again, like I said, I wish they introduced the character earlier. The whole group, I thought also Ezekiel was very good as well. There was a lot of good banter that I felt kind of helped to alleviate the heaviness that we know is coming, or that we thought was going to come in this episode as well, because it went kind of back and forth where you knew that someone is going to die, or at least for me, I really felt that was going to happen in this episode. But again, the way how they edited it, I thought it was a good balance. It was just obviously missing that that massive kind of like event or something happening. And again, it's unfortunate that it's cut off and we don't know what's going to happen in the next episode, or if we even get a next episode. This is the finale. Yeah. So we don't know what's going to happen. And I kind of felt that it cheapens the fans. But overall, I thought it was good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Would've, could've. We don't know how much they had filmed. But I know if I was editing, and if I had the material in front of me, the first thing I would have did was I would have dropped the Carol and Kate conversation in the car. That was pointless. At least what was going on, I don't care. We're moved on from that. That's it. The Lydia and Negan bonding moment, the two scenes for that, I would have cut both of them. Both those scenes, that's it. And then I would have used that time to focus more on Princess, especially when she says, all right, let's go get my supplies. And then that whole interaction happens, and then you get to see what she can really do and see how valuable she is, and then say, hey, you're coming with us. Because then it would make even more sense of like, wow, well, we definitely need her in the group. Yeah, she's a little loopy, but look what she can do. And I guess maybe that's why. Now that I think about it, maybe we won't even get that, because then when we first see her, and I sort of talked about it, where she has a gun and says, "Oh, let me show you what I can do," and then she just shoots down some walkers, and then the horses run. Well, she sort of makes the same kind of comment in the comic, but with her spear, and goes nuts, and they're like, "Oh shit!" And then that's even more important because that's a melee weapon. That's she's great in close quarters, and that's awesome.
So you know what it sounds like to me. You mentioned this earlier. It sounds like they gave that skill set to Morgan then.
Because
Morgan is just a badass with the stick in the other so I guess that's what they did.
Yeah.
Because I definitely wasn't expecting Morgan to still be alive on this show or Fear the Walking Dead. So, I guess.
Well, and he's out doing his whole thing, and I don't. Yeah. Well, Morgan is out of this show at least. I don't think he's coming back. So they could easily just say, well, and that's why they didn't say she had a staff. They called it the spear. She has a spear. So it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool if they do show what she can do with it. But that's what I'm saying. They could have had that action in this episode. It felt very heavy already with a lot of the scenes, and I'm sure people watching, when they do watch it, be like, oh, when are they going to cut back? I want to see what's going on with Princess and the crew through the minefield. I want to see what happens when they get to the garage. It was very uneventful when they get to the garage. It's like, oh, I was waiting for something, maybe walk or something, and then she starts showing off what she can. No, we're not getting that. And it looks like we're just not going to get that period. The tower thing with Gabriel, most likely they didn't even have that filmed, or else they would have just put that in. It's the name of your episode. It just makes sense. Unless that's why they put Aaron and Alden in the top there of that windmill area there. Maybe that's why they were trying to call that, but we know that's not the tower, because then, like you said, later on, Gabriel's like, all right, it's your turn for watch on the tower.
Exactly. Yep.
So, it's whatever. It sucks. I'm just going to give them a pass because of the current situations. So, that's all we can do. We're going to critique it and do the whole thing, but we also are not doubting that they had limitations to what they can do and what scenes they had available to them. So, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they did have bigger plans and they just couldn't do it, and this is what we got.
So, I have a question though, because you read the comics. In regards to Princess, did they allow her into the group solely because the way how it is given off on the TV show is that they felt sympathetic towards her? Because remember, she had that monologue about being alone and that whole thing, or was it because of her skills?
It came down really to her skills. They didn't trust her. It was Michonne that was really against it. It was Negan. It was Eugene, Michonne, and there was one other. I'm blanking on his name, but there was one other. The key part was Michonne did not trust her. But Eugene was like, hey, we're going to need her help. She knows this area. She knows her way around. And there was areas of walkers and stuff. She said, I need to get my stuff. And like, you see, she set us up. She put us in a trap. They were getting attacked. All this craziness was happening. And she shows up with this spear and just starts pulling a damn Matrix on them, just going nuts with this thing. Pulling a Neo. It was crazy. If you remember from the Matrix 2 Reloaded, the whole thing with the pipe. She just starts going nuts. And they're like, oh, wow, okay. So she's legit. And she was like, all right, so I'm ready to go. And that's it. And they were like, yeah, sure. It made sense because they're like, oh, yeah, we could definitely use her. Yeah, she's a little loopy, but she could definitely handle herself. And then that's it. And then she's part of the group on that. So it's basically based off of her skills. It wasn't a sympathy. She never approached me like, oh, please take me with you. It was none of that. And why she stayed, and she explains it in the comic why she stayed, is because she didn't know where else to go. That she was born and raised in that area. That's all she knew. So she already had things established. She knew her way around. She knew where to hide. She had all her belongings, her own little place. And they sort of hinted that here, where you see the sets of where she had tied people up, like the walkers up in different areas, because it was like nobody has gone through there forever. So she was alone, but then again, she didn't know what was out there outside of the city. And if you think about it, If you think about it, if you're the last person in the city, maybe that might be the best place to stay because there's so many different places that you could hide. Maybe there's more goods and supplies that you could find, as opposed if you go wandering out of the city and into the rural area, you're limited. So if you're in this type of situation and she has a good place to hide and the walkers and other strangers, if they do come by, can't find her, then yeah, she could go wander around, scavenge for goods. There's an endless supply because you're in an urban city environment. There's plenty of tall buildings. If she wants to get risky, she could try to go and try to open up apartments and find stuff. You know what I mean? So it sort of makes sense to, if you're going to try to survive in that environment as opposed to wandering off into the woods. So,
true.
Yeah.
I just really wondered about the whole. Now that you said that, the whole mind thing just really didn't make any sense.
Oh yeah, the minefield and all that stuff. I'm trying to. I don't remember reading that. If that was in the comics, that definitely doesn't jump out to me. If that was there, so that maybe that's something that they added. I didn't see a sign. Did they mention a sign or anything of why there was a minefield there?
No, I definitely I don't recall hearing anything about that.
Like there's something in the back that we didn't see, like a fence that said something. I don't know, or maybe I'm forgetting if that was in the comic. I don't think so though, because if I remember right, when they met up with her, they had a little back and forth conversations and stuff, and then she said she needed to go get some things because she was going to help them on their way out to get through the area, and then that's when they thought she led them in a trap because they were like, "Oh, she set us up."
Yep.
And then she comes running over with her spear, and they're like, "Oh shit, okay." So, and and she became a key member of the group. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, that was it. That's The Tower, Walking Dead, season 10, episode 15, which we'll just call the finale. And before we end up, you said that you found out some information regarding Michonne, her character, the actress, talking about what's going on with her.
Oh yeah, so I know when they did Talking Dead after that episode that I heard the both of you loved so much with Michonne. Scott Gimple was on there. Obviously this guy has been working on Rick's spinoff movie, which hopefully will come out sometime in the next 3 to 4 years.
He also looks like the wrestler Daniel Bryan's doppelganger.
Yes, he does.
Oh man, they look like twins. If they're in the same room, come on now, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart.
No, you're right. Absolutely. But he mentioned, without really saying too much, he just said that obviously the Michonne story is not over. And then, he kept alluding to that fact, saying that obviously she is looking for Rick, but then what she's a part of now is another story, and I guess we'll find out what that is because it all is connected. But after he said that, later on, like days later, there was a lot of reports coming out about there being actually a Michonne TV show spinoff in like a limited series, because what AMC is doing right now is, with these other Walking Dead series, they're not going to be long-running series. Like this other show, I think it's called The World Before or The World After, the one that it got pushed back. They said that's...
Isn't it World Beyond?
That's it. The World Beyond. They said that's only going to be a 2-year series. So I don't really know how long this Michonne thing could be. It could be a year, it could be 2 years, it could be less, but the rumor is that is going to actually be a spinoff show. Because again, we know The Walking Dead is supposedly going to end in 2 years.
Yeah. Well, so maybe this not the franchise, but just this series, this version. And this is something that Gimple had mentioned before. I think it was at the end of last season, and when Rick was gone. Once they announced that, they said, "Hey, we have plenty of things going on in this universe. We have movies, some that are going to be exclusive to AMC." To their premium service, some that are going to be in theaters. And we remember that weird teaser trailer that talked about it, that was going to be in theaters.
Yeah.
And I could see a Michonne spinoff, but I wouldn't be surprised if that spinoff just pops up on their service. Like, hey, you want to see this? It's a miniseries, it's maybe, 6 episodes or whatever. Then go ahead and subscribe to the AMC premium. that they have. Because, I mean, just the fact that we have this episode, this is thanks to AMC Premium. They show it early. So I could see them trying to put more content on that network. And The Walking Dead is something that gets a lot of hits and views. As much as people are like, oh, no one really watches it, it still gets in the millions. It's still pulling in the millions, strong numbers. So it's still profitable. So that's what I'm seeing. But then again, all this craziness has just happened, so we don't know if any of these things are even going to happen now. Because it just pushes the schedules. It pushes everyone's schedules. All these actors, crews, makeup designers, and costume designers, they all have other jobs that they usually line up. And so if this is the case that they have to eventually come back, when can they get the gang back together to film? Yeah, so
that's good. That's a good question.
How do you do that? Also, the location, the set location, the weather conditions. You know, what they film in Georgia, right?
Oh yeah,
they film in Georgia. So then again, you got to think of the weather and try to do the timing and try to get everybody back together. It's like, all right, we're gonna come and film this, and I saw the last episode of Talking Dead, and they pretty much made it seem like Dana said, like this is the finale, like they're done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's after seeing this episode, it hurts. It hurts. But whatever. It's leaving us on a dun 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 cliffhanger. That's it. That last scene with Beta and the Horde over at where the group is hiding out now. So, and that's it. So hopefully everybody go ahead, enjoy it, watch it. If you want more content for it, read the comics. Keep going forward with that, and that's over. The comic series is over, so you could actually read all the way to the end and maybe predict the end of this series if they follow on that path. But you'll definitely see similarities of what's going on to this point. And it's been fun, and we'll be back with something new. I think we're going to probably go into Killing Eve when that kicks up, because it looks like they're pushing that forward. And that's a great show. So we'll be back with that. And of course, check out the Koalition. Tons of content. As always, game reviews, product reviews, TV show, movies. You know, we're all there. We're all doing stuff. So plenty of things to do and read and watch. All right, everybody. I was your host, Adam Vale, joined by Dana. Got anything you want to say?
Thank you once again for watching or listening. And this has been fun. I just wish we had a conclusion.
Yeah. Richard
Weird.
Bailey. Yep. It is weird. It's very weird. Richard Bailey Jr.
Yes, thank you all for listening. Hope that you stay preoccupied this weekend, and feel free to give WrestleMania a chance if you want some entertainment, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we did a special edition of the WrestleCast covering that. So you can check that out on the channel also. We covered WrestleMania, did our little predictions to see how they're going to pull this too big for one night. I still want to get that T-shirt that I wasn't there T-shirt. I do want that shirt. I do want that shirt because I think this is definitely a historic moment for wrestling.
Your house one too, and it actually makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. All right, everybody. Have a good night. Peace.